everyone so much for coming together from different countries and different states and different cities all over the world so that we can share our stories and create a global sisterhood. I'm Melanie Kloss. I'm from the Other Side Intercultural Theater, and I'm so excited to present to you a group of young women who are here to tell their stories and learn about each other. The Other Side Intercultural Theater is a nonprofit based in New York City, which uses theater and cross-cultural exchange and technology to bring girls together across countries and across borders so that they can support each other and advocate for themselves. I'm going to introduce the people who are here today. We have two mentors/teachers from New York City, Lafi and Yasmin. We also have from New York City, from Staten Island, we have Jeanette Garvin, who's here to tell her story today. And we're going to cross all the way over to the other side of the world in Anupchar, which is in Uttar Pradesh in India. And we have with us today two young women who are from a school called Pradada Pradadi Educational Society. We have Bhavna and Anu. We also have two teachers from Pradada Pradadi. And I just want to mention that in order for this to happen, we had to organize a lot of schedules, a lot of technology, internet connectivity, making sure we have spaces that are quiet, and it's not easy to put all of this together. So thank you everyone for coming together today. And finally, Linda Lombardo, who will be putting together the audio of this radio program, editing it together and making it a beautiful, magical work of art. So without too much more introductions, I would like to ask the young women to share their stories. We're making space for them to tell their stories and be themselves authentically. So let's hear it. Let's start with Bhavna.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Bhavna. I'm 16 years old. I want to be a police officer so that I am studying making a better future. It is too difficult for girls to do something her own effort in the society because people always like to interrupt our decisions. Also, there is no freedom act by choice, especially to girls' child. If I want to be a successfully person, then I need to convince my parents and other family members. If they are not agree, I would leave my future plan career. I have agree with them. Have a supportive parents because they always encourage me better in my life. They also have some rules for me, but those are not barriers that can stop my career plans or future study. Parents motivate me and get success hard work for achievements. Marriage is always the most important step of life. In my society, parents will we decide the parents is a whom I have to marry. 18 years is valid for but pupil earlier than this is later also. Marriage is not only tradition but also responsibility for lifetime. I will to have to do always, but it till now. I don't think about it. People like to give dowry in marriage. It is an evil for society. I want to be stop this system because it is a main case of violence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Bhavna. So next we're going to hear from Jeanette. We're going to hear her story. And just so you know, after we hear all the stories, we're going to talk about them, ask some questions, clarify some things. So Jeanette, please tell us your story.
My name is Donna and I'm 17 years old. I was born in Staten Island and I'm African American. I'm a junior at Curtis High School. The first wedding I had ever been a part of, in fact, the first wedding I've ever attended was my aunt's, Matsuma's. I remember having to go to this wedding store in the city, but always getting lost on the way. The store was filled with dresses, non-traditional dresses that were colorful, covered in jewels, and many different lengths on one side of the shop, and traditional white, big, long, puffy dresses on the other. My cousin and I would always run through the rows of dresses and look through the books of dresses. They had beautiful colors from cyan to lavender to white. On our way out, we had taken this little catalog they gave us with all the different styles of dresses, all arranged by color. My favorite part of this event was meeting up with everyone, getting fitted for my dress, practicing walking down the aisle, and helping prepare the food. After that experience, I knew that I always wanted to get married and have a wedding just like my aunts. That had become one of my main goals. My mom herself wasn't married, but rather in the midst of this kind of engaged, not engaged phase. She'd made it very apparent to me that she didn't want me getting married, let alone dating until I finished school. She'd always joke around and say, wait until 39, which is the age she wanted me to start dating. She'd say things like, on your wedding night, you can get your first boyfriend. Even though she wanted me to wait to date, she also brought it to my attention that even though education came first, she still wanted me to have skills of a married woman. When I got older, she expected me to know how to cook, clean, and do laundry. This was planted in me at a young age. Because I was so young, I didn't realize that this would become more of a chore than rather a fun activity. My older brother was responsible for different chores. He needed to do things like clean the kitchen or the bathroom, and my mom would do the other duties. When I got older, around the age of 7 or 8, it then became my responsibility to start lending a helping hand. My mom did make an attempt to keep it fair, even when it came to helping with cooking and cleaning, but she always put majority of the work on me because she wanted to ensure that I was capable of the housework. Since then, my thoughts on marriage have changed. I know I want to get married, but time doesn't seem to be enough for me to accomplish all my dreams. I've always wanted a big family since that's where my roots are. I have 2 brothers from my mom's side and 1 adopted sister. From my dad's side, I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters that live in Africa. My grandma had about 9 kids, but my other uncle and my 2 youngest aunts aren't married. Even though they aren't in a rush, everyone in my family hopes that someday they'll find someone to wed. I have at least 9 plus cousins, many second cousins, about 3 god siblings, and 2 step siblings too. I probably have even more, but at this point, I can't keep count. The newest addition to our family is my nephew, Isaiah. I've always had a big family. That's always been there for me. And I still want a big family, but I also want to live my life. There's still so much I want to do. A major part of my future and my present is what I want to be when I get older. Like other kids, I went through the phase of I want to be everything and everything. I wanted to be a ballerina, a cop, a lawyer, and a judge, an ice cream truck driver, anything I could think of, I wanted to be. As I got older, this list, while it still is long, narrowed down. As of now, I want to be either an EMT, which is an emergency medical technician, this is an ambulance driver, or a cardiothoracic or a neurosurgeon. This, I know, will take a long time to accomplish. If anything, my plan was to take an EMT class, and if I don't like it, take another route and become a surgeon. That way I can accomplish both of my dreams. The hard part of this is preparing myself for the long and intensive amount of time I will have to put into this and try to keep myself motivated. When it comes to something as white-collared as a surgeon, it is very easy to psych myself out and tell myself that I can't do it, or there's not enough time to accomplish this, and it's best to just settle. In my school, I'm a part of the nursing house. This means that I take nursing classes every day that prepare me for the clinical settings, and on Thursday actually will be my first time going to clinical. I'm very excited to go, and I hope that I don't forget any of my skills that I've learned during class. In class, we practice nursing skills like brushing teeth, brushing dentures, feeding, bed making, etc. Next year, I'll be sitting down with the state to take my certification test, and if I pass, I get my license. In case when I graduate, I will be able to work in a clinical setting. As of now, this is my life. I don't know if as time passes, I'll still want to accomplish these dreams or completely change them and start over. I guess that's for tomorrow Donna to figure out.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I loved hearing all about your family and then how you came back around and told us more about yourself. Really nice, Janet. Thank you. And so now let's hear from Anu.
My name is Anu. I study in class 11th grade. I have a many dreams, but most favorite plan for me to be a lawyer. For this, I do specific preparation for my best result. Education is the way to prove myself
in different city. And after completing my education, I wish to support needed women, those don't anyone to support. To fulfill my desire, all teachers guide and motivate me. Also inspire, always get achievements. They suggest me truthful hardship and logical fact of collect to necessary information. I have a special bonding with teachers. They are playing and a role of a facilitator to make my life successful. I am a girl who like to stylish, but the society where I live, the rural people is don't like stylish, different meaning for clothing. If I do this, they complain and argue. Also pressurized to not to be it again. I like short dresses a lot, but they can carry it when I go out far from the blaze. Perhaps their mentality matter too. They never think about changes in society. I want to work for such issues so that my other sister can have a better life. I would not face all these things for living and life peaceful. I am realizing. I would prefer to resolve the condition that have at present in rural areas. Indeed, awareness programs should be run for blazing, developing mentality and thoughts of people. When it will get success, girl life naturally feel independent and be able to get a working and progressing lifestyle. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That's lovely. And I love how you're so interested in taking what you've learned for yourself and bringing it back to other girls in your community. That's beautiful. So now I'd like to hand it over to our teachers to have the girls ask each other questions, or you can ask them some questions. And just introduce yourself right before you speak so our listeners can know who's talking.
Hi, I'm Yasmin. I'm a teacher from the New York City side. And if Johnette would like to start by any questions she has for the girls in India, doesn't matter which one, if you have any follow-up questions based on their monologues that you just heard.
The questions that I have first are for Bhavna. If your parents were to not agree with you with your job choice, what else would you want to be?
Let me repeat Jeanette's question. I think that I can explain it in a way that they might understand better. Bhavna, the question is, if your parents say you cannot be a police officer, then what is a different job which you would like to have?
May I go to hotel management?
Hotel management. And Janet, what's your second question?
My second question is, how does one become a police officer where you're from?
Can you repeat your question?
How does one become a police officer where you're from?
कैसे बन सकते हैं?
For I'm study in the future career my aim, and I give to test and I cross the test, so job.
I think if the girls can answer the question in Hindi, and then Reena, you can translate what they said into English. Is that okay?
Okay.
Then they can feel more free to answer the question in their own language, yes. And then you can do the translation, okay?
She's saying for police officer job, first she will study hard. In some subjects, those are necessary to putting test for police line, and then she will give entrance exam, and if she will get good marks and she will pass, then she will go for face-to-face interview in any government places, and after that she will get a job in police line.
And what was your third question?
My third question doesn't really have to do with her monologue, but I said, do you have any siblings?
Any siblings? Mm-hmm. Brothers or sisters?
Yes.
I have siblings.
Yes, I have 2 sisters and 1 brother.
And also, I had separate questions for Anu.
Okay, go ahead.
When you travel out of your village, where do you go?
I would like to go in USA, UK, Germany, and etc.
I think Janet wants to know if you've ever left your village before today, previously. Where did you go? Did you ever get to go to Delhi? Did you ever go to Bulandshahr previously?
Yeah, I was go Delhi.
Okay. And what other places did you go in your past? Not in your future, in your past.
Gurgaon, Delhi, and Rajasthan.
Ooh,
I went many places.
good. Mostly those places are cities around their village, and Rajasthan is a whole different state. That must have
Yes.
been very exciting.
I went to Udaipur. That was also a city of Rajasthan state, and that is a very beautiful city. And I spent 3 days there, and I forgot that I have spent 3 days. I was thinking, ki, oh, I came yesterday, and today we are going. But because there are so many places and beautiful things to visit.
Great. Afi, why don't you ask or prompt something next?
Yeah, sure. I think that I understood it correctly. So I'm going to ask if I was correct first. My question is for Anu. I thought it was really interesting. You said that you're very stylish. Is that what you had mentioned earlier?
I like short dresses. I like to make very various hairstyles. So I am a stylish girl.
I have a follow-up question for what Laffy was just saying. For stylish Anu, do you like to wear your hair in braids?
Yes, I like.
You do like it? So what's the best hairstyle in your opinion?
Open hair with puff.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Reena or Neha, do you have a question, or do the girls, Bhavna and Anu, have questions for Janet?
आपको सवाल पूछना है उनसे कहीं बोल दो मुझे हिंदी में मैं पूछ लूंगी
ऐसी कौन सी चीजें जिससे तुम वर्ल्ड को बदल सकते हो और इनसे पूछा जाए ऐसे क्या करोगे जिससे वर्ल्ड बदल जाए कोई एक थिंक ऐसे हो
they want to ask that what they want to change in their society.
Can you say it clearly in Hindi, as if we can all understand Hindi, just so that we can hear your words, Anu? Say it directly to the camera in Hindi.
ऐसी चीजें जिससे आप दुनिया को बदल सकते हो अपने समाज को बदल. What would you like to change in your society?
Okay, Janet.
In my society, I feel like something that's really common nowadays is that it's very easy to hate people or just to get mad over things. So I feel like if I were to change one thing, it'd be something along the lines of being more accepting and forgiving.
Okay, thank you.
Bhavna, do you have any questions?
Would you like to visit India?
Anyone can answer that question.
When I get older, I do hope to travel. So maybe India could be one of those places. I do want to go someplace foreign.
When I was growing up, I had a picture for every place I wanted to travel, and I had a picture of India in my room for maybe like 10 years or so. So it would be really beautiful to go, and of course to say hi to all of you.
That would be great. We also have a topic of surprises. What's a surprise? What does that mean to you in this context?
सरप्राइज का मतलब क्या तुम्हारे लिए किसी को सरप्राइज देते हैं हम कोई हमें सरप्राइज देता है ना क्या मतलब है तुम्हारे लिए सरप्राइज का चुप नहीं बैठो जल्दी बोलो
कोई से खुश कर देना
हाँ you can ask
अचानक से खुश कर देना.
English translation, please.
Yeah, she is saying the surprise means according to giving happiness to someone suddenly in a moment.
Yeah, well, in this context, it's a little different than that. It's like something that you said that I said, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that girls in India do something, or I didn't know that girls in New York City are doing something. So what's something that surprised you about each other?
क्या सरप्राइज लगा तुम्हें जैसे उन लोगों को जाना तो कुछ ऐसा लगा कि फर्स्ट टाइम मुझे पता चला कि अरे ऐसा भी है जो इन लोगों से बात हुई है अभी तक उसमें कुछ सरप्राइजिंग लगा
Yeah, I'll be talking to new people.
हाँ तुम say to them
It is a surpriseful me
that for me
that for me we are talking on
Like
faces like you.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And also, any teachers, if you have some surprises that you noticed in the monologues, you can mention those too.
I mean, we already went over the one thing that surprised me was when Anu was talking about fashion. I thought that was kind of cool when she talked about like how she liked to wear like shorter dresses and do her hair and things like that, but how it's not accepted a whole lot just where she lives, and how she explained how she can carry it with her to outside of her city or her town, and like then it's okay, and how she's hoping that the culture around that sort of changes a little bit so that she can express herself, which I think is really cool because I also think fashion is a fun way to express yourself. But I also think culture is really cool, and like expressing yourself through, like just traditional wear and whatever is also kind of cool. So that was what surprised me.
Johnette, do you also feel like if you were to wear a certain thing or not wear a certain thing, that would be difficult in your society?
I feel like now, like especially when I do go to school, there is a lot of different type of fashion. Like people wear things that you wouldn't necessarily think they would wear, but people don't really shame them for them. They kind of encourage them for being different and like standing out and wearing something different. So yeah.
That's great. Different from when I was in school. Laffy, do you have any response or reflection on that too?
I agree with Donna. It's so different here in New York where everybody is so different. I mean, sometimes you'll see somebody on the train and you're not sure if they came back from Halloween party or they're going to school or just work. It could be anywhere. So we're very lucky in a lot of ways to be allowed to dress really differently. But I think definitely for girls and women and just anybody who presents more feminine, even men in New York, there are some hardships and things can be pretty difficult. I have like a small story I wanted to tell, but I want to leave room if I need to translate.
Oh, to translate what you just said. Reena, did you understand what they just said? Can you translate for the girls in Hindi?
I understood, but because the voice was interrupting so I couldn't understand the whole concept.
Okay. I'll say it again. In New York City, we have many, many different kinds of people. So many different people who look many different ways that we feel like we can wear anything sometimes. However, if you have more of a feminine look, whether you're a boy or a girl, sometimes there's a lot more of restrictions or expectations put upon you that you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way. Did I sum that up properly? Yeah. Okay. So you can say that in Hindi to the girls.
In other country, I can do it, but at home, I will be like my family. It doesn't matter what others think of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to share a story that I share with my students. Usually this story helps them see sometimes the students have not yet experienced certain challenges that maybe older people may have. And so I usually use this as a way to connect with them. I had been traveling on the train on my way to work. And while I was waiting for the train, I started doing my mascara, just my makeup. And I noticed somebody standing in front of me. And I was wondering why he was in front of me. I didn't know him. And when I looked up, I asked him if he needed any help. And he told me that, he said, well, isn't what you want attention? So I will stand right here. I will stay right here. And I felt so nervous because I didn't know what to do and nobody was helping me or standing up for me. And I explained to him, I don't want any attention. I was just getting ready for work. I mean, it's not really, I don't think that it's fair to treat people uncomfortable or be mean to them because of they put makeup or how they are dressed. So I asked him to please leave me alone, but he actually ended up following me into my job, almost up to my job. I was really afraid because I was surrounded by so many people, but nobody said anything. And I guess sometimes living in New York, since everybody is so different, you don't realize that there are still moments where people's sexism comes out. There are still moments where men try to put women or people who are just dressed feminine, they try to make them feel unsafe or uncomfortable. And that for me is a story that I often share with my students when they're like, that doesn't matter. When we had boys in our class for 2 weeks as a trial session, and so that was typically when it came up, feeling like those are not important things, or like, you know, sexism is in history, that doesn't happen anymore. But it definitely does, no matter how accepting culture you live in.
Thank you so much for sharing that story.
Thank you.
I want to ask everyone else, have you ever felt uncomfortable because of being a girl in a space where you were very aware of being a girl? You don't have to share the story, but just yes or no. Did you have an experience like that?
The question for us?
Anyone. Everybody.
Okay. You have any story कि कोई तुम्हारा पीछा कर रहा है या कोई तुमको परेशान करता है, ऐसी कोई स्टोरी है?
No.
और तुम्हारी कोई फ्रेंड्स की या किसी और पड़ोसी की? Means they do not experience like that because they are coming from home to school safely in the guidance and take caring of school people and family people. But they said that they heard some issues like that in villages about other people, but they don't know a clear story about it also.
Mm-hmm.
It happens that people gaze someone and they follow by bad meaning to women and girls. It happens, but they don't have any story to explain.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, many, which isn't good. But I mean, I remember walking home from school from like volleyball practice or track or any sort of rehearsal, and I mean, people, like, I had someone follow me with their car to my house. So I've experienced a lot of those, I mean, I guess harassment, but I'm happy to hear that these girls, although it does exist, I'm happy to hear that within their community or wherever they stay, that they don't experience that, because no one should have to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jeanette, do you have any experience with that or feelings about that?
I have it's maybe 1 or 2 times. I feel like especially it's because it's I know girls around my age, even though we may look older, we can tell that, okay, she's 16, she's 15. But usually when it comes to stuff like this, they'll use the excuse of you look older, so we thought that you're older.
I think that's a common, I don't think we should excuse it. I think whether you are a child or an adult, no one has the right to you or to approach you or to just your person, whether you're a child or not. I think it with while we get older, it's easier to say don't do it to children because they're kids. And yeah, sometimes we look older, but that doesn't mean anything. No one should approach you and also continue to approach you after you've told them no and that you aren't looking for attention. Whatever it is, it shouldn't happen regardless.
So let's move to a new topic. Just one more thing about connections. So connections meaning, what are some of the things that we have in common? Anyone can speak to that. What are some of the things that we all have in common?
from everyone's monologue, it sounds like everyone's very motivated and sort of self-motivated, but also like to like seize all the opportunities that they can, whatever that may mean for everybody.
Anyone else have anything they found in common, connections?
For me, I put that for Bhavna with the dowry part. I know that my mom used to talk about sometimes when she was in Africa about having to pay dowries. I know in our culture, it's the men have to pay it towards the woman's family. And then for Anu's, I said that I feel like that education is also a way that I have to prove myself in society, because especially in my culture, I feel like when I get older, if I say that I don't have like a certain degree of knowledge, they will judge you for it.
That's really interesting about dowry. Actually, I want to just come back to that really quickly, because for our listeners who may not know what that is, could you in India explain what is a dowry? And then Jeanette, you said a little bit about what the dowry system looks like from your culture. So first let's hear from the India side about what is dowry, and then we'll hear from yours.
Girls' family pay money and things to boys' family's marriage. Sometimes it is a per choice and it can be a pressure.
Okay, thank you so much. I know that there can be a lot of violence around dowry issues in India. If the girl's family doesn't have enough money that what the boy's family wants, there can be some violent action that's taking place between the families, and then there's also police sometimes get bribed by the boy's family so that even if something happens to the girl, then they go to the police. Nothing's going to happen because they've already been bribed. Am I right? These are things that happen?
Yes.
And it's a really big problem in the rural communities where people follow the system really closely. And, you know, the way to avoid it is really to try to get an education and then get a job and have your own independent finances, so that you can come back and say, I have money, I can make my own decisions. That's that's the very simplified version of it, but that's the mission of the school where these girls are, is really working towards ending child marriage and these issues around the dowry. Okay, and so Jeanette, what is the dowry system? What does it look like in your culture, and how did it work out with your family?
I don't know a lot about it, but I know like the first step is the man has to go to the person he wants to marry's family, and he has to ask like the family and the elder members if they'll like allow him to marry her. If they say yes, then he can, but if they say no, that he can't. I know my mom did this with her husband. My stepdad went to our family, we all gathered up, and he asked for permission to marry her. And I know afterwards it's basically the husband giving the wife's family gifts like cows and stuff like that, but I don't know the like technicality of it.
And actually, Janet, I just realized I don't think you ever said what country in Africa your family comes from.
Oh, my mom and my dad come from Liberia.
Okay, thank you. So, you know, it's interesting to see how marriage comes up in so many different cultures. And there's so many rituals around marriage and expectations for women around marriage and men. So that's a connection that we have. I think all of us can connect upon that. No matter how old we are, we all have expectations and feelings and thoughts about marriage. Any other things that we have in common that we've noticed?
It got me thinking, actually, dowry is something in my culture as well. My grandfather is from Palestine, and for many Palestinians, it just like is so surprising, I guess, to hear, because similar to Jeanette, it's more of the man has to give money to the woman's family. And specifically for Palestinians, you have to give your wife money to set aside in case things weren't to work out, as some sort of, I guess, security blanket, so that you don't have to worry about that. But I agree with Yasmin. I see for us, really, the giant connector for us all is how much, no matter what we want to do, or if we want to marry, if we don't, I think we're all connected by the fact that we are very strong about our dreams and our education, and really expanding that beyond ourselves. So that's really exciting to me.
And I think that's exciting for me to know that everyone has those kinds of dreams and wants to work so hard. And I think what's even more amazing is that now that we all know that we have these dreams, we can support each other. We can think about each other in all these different places from all these different cultures, saying like, oh, are you working hard towards your dream today? Okay, good. Then I'm going to work hard towards my dream today. We can hold each other accountable. And just for the listeners out there, just so you know, all of these girls are able to connect with each other and communicate with each other over the internet after this radio show ends, so that they can keep each other updated and hold each other accountable for their dreams and their hopes and their hard work. I'm going to close out soon. So if anyone else wants to add any last thoughts or stories or things that haven't been said that you think need to be said and shared in this space we have together, please do so. Or questions even.
I had a question actually for Bhavna and Anu. I sort of realized this at some point. Have they ever seen a teacher with tattoos?
Do you have teachers with tattoos?
नहीं तुमने कभी देखे अपने यहाँ टीचर्स जिनके टैटू हो तो से
No, our teacher have tattoos.
Okay, I'll be your first teacher with tattoos. I have
in India or especially in Anup Shahar, we love to do henna decoration at home in our hands, and tattoo is not a fashion here, and we love to see others with tattoos because I have seen some volunteers that had tattoos on their bodies, but we like to do henna. We use henna for this, and it's very that look beautiful in hands, and it's a symbol of something happening good.
Yes, it's a very common marriage ritual as well.
henna actually is something that Palestinian women do for their weddings and events as well. So next time I go to India, you hit me up with the real tattoo. Get me some henna, and I'll show you my other tattoos.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would like to ask to Jasmine ma'am, do you like henna or to visit India sometimes with Melanie?
Yeah, I would love to go to India. I've never done henna. I've seen women here have henna, so I'm very fascinated. I think it's very beautiful. I had a friend who was Indian, and so she knew how to do it, and she would do it on herself. And so I know it's very hard to do. So props to you. Do any of you know how to do henna?
Yes, we all know.
Oh my gosh, that's so
because,
cool. That's really cool. I'm not that crafty. I don't know how to do any. I don't know how I would be able to do that. But I would love to go to India. So yeah.
All right. Well, we have a trip to plan, I think. Janet, do you have any final thoughts or questions? You must be tired. She's managing her nephew right now.
Yeah.
There he is.
A final question is, maybe if you were to travel to any place outside of the country you live in, where would it be?
Okay, so Anu already told us that she wants to go to America and Germany. Bhavna, if you could travel any place, where would you go?
I love to go Mumbai and Delhi and out of India, America and Australia.
Great. Jeanette has to go to school very early in the morning tomorrow, so good night, and thank you so much for giving your time and also managing your nephew at the same time as doing this, babysitting. And Yasmin, thank you so much for joining us, even though you have a cough. You did a good job. And Laffy, thank you so much for sharing all your stories and your input.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be able to see the teachers and see Anu and Bhavna. I'm just so excited to see you live and in color with us.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we are very happy to see all of you in late night and talking with us also. It's very good and happiness with happyful moment for us. And thank you so much
Thank you so much
to giving your
time.
precious time to us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, ma'am.
Good morning and good night.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah.
Girls, how was that experience for you? You got to meet someone from America today. How do you feel?
Very good. Nice.
Now I feel very glad.
Good. You know, and it's not just that you met someone, but you have a friend. You have a friend that's going to be thinking about you. Dost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rina, can you just say something, one sentence about what is Pardada Pardadi, what does the other side do in Pardada Pardadi? Just something about, you know, where you're all coming from.
Pardada Pardadi is a organization who works for rural girls to give a better life to them and give a professionally success that they can't get after living in their villages. So PPS give them chance to get higher education in other cities and get job and make their life better. And the other side program also helping to increase the capacity of thinking in such ways to girls that they can able to do something better in their life. And they also start to dreaming about the other countries, not only about their country, rather than their own country. They are thinking about other countries and other countries people, and they will think, if they will think like that, so in future they will also make plan to go further as a career or as a visit other countries. Right now they don't have anything like that, but for future they can imagine, and they will be a friend by the other side, and they can be smarter rather than now, because they will get new chance to think about new concepts by other side. They are studying, it is good they are studying, but the other side is a practical program. It's not a something thesis. They have to read and they have to perform, not. It's a practical program. Today they prepared themselves, but what happened exactly, that is different. And now what they will do, and they will think about the program, that will be also something different. And next time when they will do this type of activities on internet, so that will be a better and will be a good experience for them. Today they are also feeling happy, and their faces are showing the happiness of the connecting with the other people, and it is a first chance. But they are saying to me personally, okay, ma'am, we want to involve in the activities such like that we did today. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much for that thorough explanation, Rina. That was great. So I just want to close out by saying that you've heard a little bit about the organization Pardada Pardadi in India, and I just wanted to speak about the organization that Jeanette comes from in Staten Island. It's called Napela, and Napela works with girls and women in the Park Hill community, which is a housing project community in Staten Island, mostly with Liberian and other African immigrants. And Napela works to help women gain literacy skills and work on citizenship. They have a really great volunteer program where they have students from Wagner College come and help the women with their citizenship status and their applications. Yasmin is also a student from Wagner College who's been mentoring Jeanette on her monologue and helping to support our program at Napela. I just want to thank everyone so much for listening to our radio program today. All of these girls have come together to share their hopes and their dreams, which is a part of the mission of the Other Side Intercultural Theater. If you were inspired by the stories that you heard today, and you want to learn more about the other side or get involved, there's a lot of ways that you can do that. If you like what you heard and you want to join us again for another online experience celebrating girls and global sisterhood, on May 17th, we'll be hosting what we're calling a virtual variety brunch. Yep, it's going to be around brunch time, noon on a Sunday, May 17th, and there'll be music, live music from some female musicians. We're going to have poetry and words and stories and skits from our students, and we'll hear some words of inspiration from our community members. If you're interested in joining us, we are going to be sending out a link for purchase in the next couple of days, so keep your eyes open for that on our mailing list, on our Facebook group, on social media, and on our website. I hope you can join us on May 17th. Thank you so much for listening. You can take a look at our website, which is theothersidenyc.org. You can reach out to me if you live in New York City and you'd like to schedule a meeting to learn more about the other side. My email address is theothersidenyc@gmail.com. Also, if you live in other cities, feel free to reach out. Another way that you can support the other side is by going to our website and making a donation. Just to give you something to think about, $250 can support one girl through our program for 1 year. Donations are always a great way to support organizations, and we welcome any of your support. There's lots of other ways to get involved, and you can check out our website to see things that are happening. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you can join our community and join our global sisterhood movement.